Man, 2023 was a huge year for comic book movies. We got a whopping 9 comic book films if you count Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which unfortunately will not be on this list because I have not seen it yet myself. But do not worry, it will certainly be one of the first films I watch in 2024, so I'm looking forward to that. But this will be all Marvel and DC films that we are ranking, still 8 of them, which is quite a bit. DC had a lot going on this year, and Marvel also as well. Now, it's weird though, because obviously a couple years ago, you go back to like 2018, 2019, that was the peak of comic book movies in the film industry. But in recent years, particularly in this year, there's been the downfall. And, there's the whole superhero fatigue thing. Is it real? Is it not? Oh, is it a myth? Is it true? Who knows? All up to your own opinion. But we got definitely some good movies this year and some not so good movies. So we are going to be talking about all 8 of them. Of course, you can let me know your own thoughts, your own rankings in the comments below. But without further ado, let's rank some 2023 comic book movies. Coming in at last place, number 8, we have The Marvels. Because, none of these movies on this list do I hate. The Marvels, I don't hate the movie. I like the movie, but it's nothing special. This movie, it's only like an hour and a half. It's less than 2 hours, and it feels like that. This is the type of movie where, a lot of people hate on this just because, oh, it's Captain Marvel, and oh, it's 3 women, oh, feminism is bad, and like all this stuff. That's not why I don't like it. Why I don't like it is because this feels like a movie that isn't even a movie. This feels like more of just a setup for the wider universe with, multiverse and the post-credit scene with X-Men and all that stuff. And we don't really get time to actually learn and care about these characters. You have to watch all these other projects to care about these characters going into this film. And sure, there's some funny moments, there's some cool action sequences and everything, but CGI isn't great at certain points. The villain is completely forgettable. And again, the film just feels kind of pointless. And the same kind of goes for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania at number 7, because this had the potential to be so much more, introducing Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror, the next big bad of the MCU, the next Thanos. Obviously, we know how things are going with Jonathan Majors right now, but at the time, this was supposed to be big, like bigger than Giant Man. And that's the other upsetting part of this, because, Kang himself was great, probably the best part of the film. That was mostly done well, except for Kang the Conqueror, the next big bad, being defeated by a bunch of ants. That was its own problem. But the bigger problem for me is that this is the 3rd Ant-Man movie. This is supposed to conclude the Ant-Man trilogy. But this doesn't feel like an Ant-Man movie. The first 2 movies were small. They were grounded. And there was just something special about that. Here we go into this big sci-fi green screen world, and doesn't feel like Ant-Man. Instead, it's just a movie all about setting up Kang the Conqueror and setting up Cassie Lang as a young Avenger and bringing in MODOK, but just for a joke, and completely wasting that character. And Ant-Man and the Wasp just happen to be featured here. For that, it's kind of not great. I'm so annoyed about what they did to MODOK. MODOK is one of my favorite Marvel villains, and they just completely butchered him here. It was terrible. And a lot of what's going on here is, it's the Thor Love and Thunder effect. There's supposed to be this like serious moments in here, but then they're all just turned into jokes. And a lot of these jokes aren't really even that funny. But then we got number 6, which this gets into all the movies that I really love and really enjoy, but it's just a matter of ranking them. And Blue Beetle is unfortunately at the bottom of that at number 6. Blue Beetle, I love Blue Beetle as a character. Jaime Reyes, I grew up with this character, so I'm so glad we finally got to see a Blue Beetle movie in live action. And man, Xolo Mardueña is fantastic, pitch perfect casting in this role. He is the best part of this film. The only real downfall to this movie is just that it is very generic. It is very kind of just repetitive of every other superhero movie. There's not a whole lot here that makes it super duper special. I love the elements of the culture of Jaime's culture and his family. I love all that, but it does feel a bit Spy Kids at moments. And to be completely honest, I mean, I love Blue Beetle, but I don't really know if Blue Beetle is a character that can really hold his own with his own story. I mean, the villain here is, again, generic and pretty basic, but I look forward to seeing Xolo Mardueña continue as Blue Beetle in the DCU, in James Gunn's DCU, hopefully in some cool team-up project, maybe in Booster Gold. Then we come in at number 5 with The Flash. The Flash movie, oh, man. Again, the potential was here. It could have been so good, but then the behind-the-scenes drama with Ezra Miller, and then leading up to the release, everybody hyping it up. James Gunn, Zack Snyder, Tom Cruise, of all people, saying how much of a masterpiece this film is. And then I watched it, and the best part of this film are the emotional moments with Barry and his mother. I mean, I did cry during that grocery store scene at the end of the film, for sure. But the CGI here is an abomination. It is disastrous. Sasha Calle's Supergirl is fantastic. Michael Keaton's Batman is wasted. He's barely used here and is used in ridiculous ways. Again, there's a lot of jokes here that just are a bit too ridiculous. Ezra Miller, I think his acting is great. At some times, his jokes don't really land. There's just a lot here that's forced. This adapts the Flashpoint storyline from the comics, which is one of the best DC Comics storylines ever. And it's, I get that they wanted to do something different, but they did it in a way where it is far less superior to the original version, to the point where it's like, if you just did the actual Flashpoint storyline, had Reverse Flash in here and everything, this could have been one of the best comic book films of all time. But we didn't do that. And then the forced cameos at the end, bringing dead people back to life with CGI, again, not good. It was just not the greatest. Then we got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. This just recently released in theaters, and this was a huge surprise for me because, as with another film, which we'll be talking about in a second, I had very low expectations going into this film. I loved the first Aquaman movie, but, reviews were saying it was really bad. Poor scores, poor Rotten Tomatoes scores, poor box office, all that stuff. So I didn't really expect a whole lot, but I went into it. I loved it. I mean, it's a fun action adventure. Do I wish we spent more time underwater? Yes, definitely. But I mean, the visuals are great. James Wan really brings his horror background into this as well. Is it a great ending to the DCEU? No, but that's not what it was designed to be. Now, speaking of the DCEU, though, coming in at number 3, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which, I know, I'm just as surprised as you. As you may have noticed, if you're subscribed to my other channel, The DC Life, I just posted a review for this morning because I just watched this movie for the first time last night. It came out back in March. I specifically chose not to watch it because, again, just like Aquaman, I thought it was going to be bad. Everybody said it was bad. I expected it to be bad. I love the first Shazam movie. It is one of my favorite DC movies of all time. But I didn't expect greatness from this. But I watched it, and I love it. It's so good. And it's not fantastic or anything. It's not like the next 2 movies on this list. But I would say it is about on par with Aquaman, but it is a little bit better because there's real emotions in play here. There are some semi-emotional moments in Aquaman, but here there's some real emotion in play, and I really enjoyed tapping into that. But oh, you want emotion, you come to number 2 with Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. One of the best MCU films, certainly the best MCU film of the year, definitely one of the best MCU films in recent years. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. Before that first film, I didn't even know who the Guardians were. But then we were introduced to these characters, and over 3 movies, they built them up. They built up these story arcs. James Gunn just laid it out so nicely and concluded it so beautifully and so perfectly. And it's a movie that has everything. It's got a fantastic soundtrack. It's funny. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry so much. It has what I think is probably the best villain of any comic book film in 2023. The High Evolutionary is fantastic. Adam Warlock is great in here. The cast is great. Just everybody and everything about this film is fantastic. Is it my favorite Guardians of the Galaxy movie? Probably not, but that is kind of hard for me. I really don't know if I could rank the 3 of them because they're all so good. And this is what gives me hope for James Gunn leading the DCU because of how good he did with this consecutive storyline throughout these 3 films, what he can do with the whole DC cinematic universe. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you already know it. Number 1 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Sony doesn't do so great over there with their live-action Spider-Man films, but man, can they do it in animation. What an astounding achievement of animation this is. Just the style and the creativeness, like what is done with the animation style in these Spider-Verse films is really just astounding. It's so freaking awesome, and I love the first movie, but Across the Spider-Verse is just a whole other level. I didn't think it could be topped, but we do it with Across the Spider-Verse, and the thing with this movie is before this year, I'd never seen a movie more than once in theaters. I saw Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse 3 different times in theaters, people. That's how much I love this film. You got Miles, you got Gwen, you got Miguel O'Hara as Spider-Man 2099. It's fantastic. The voice cast, you got some great cameos as well. Just some great lore to the Spider-Verse. And, it's a part 1 of part 2. You end on a great cliffhanger. I am so beyond hyped for Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, those are our comic book films of 2023. Again, we had some not so great ones like The Flash and Quantumania and the Marvels, but then you have some real shining stars like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. People, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of my ranking? What is your ranking? And what comic book films are you most looking forward to in 2024? Right around the corner, people. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the movie life.